Made on Zencaster.
The all-in-one podcasting platform that really does make every stage of the podcast production process so easy. Hello, and welcome to Fit for My Age, the health and well-being podcast from Abeceder. I'm your host, Michael Millward. Today, I am learning about Peptide Bio-Regulators from Kimberley Verbeke from avita-wellness.com. Kimberley is based in Texas. If you plan to visit anywhere in the United States or beyond, do as I do and make your travel arrangements with the Ultimate Travel Club, because that is where you can access trade prices on flights, hotels, trains, holidays, and all sorts of other travel-related purchases. You'll find a link to a Fit for My Age discounted membership page in the description. Now that I've paid the rent, it is time to make this episode of Fit for My Age. That will be well worth listening to, liking, downloading, and subscribing to. Very importantly, on Fit for My Age, we don't tell you what to think, but we do hope to make you think. Hello, Kimberley.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well, thank you very much. I hope that you can say the same.
I'm doing great.
Brilliant. Please could we start by you explaining a little bit about who you are and your career to date, which led to you being involved with Avita Wellness?
Sure. My background is 4 years of training as a traditional naturopath, so very root cause based. I have a wellness clinic with a medical doctor. We do a whole lot of fun things here to help people optimize their health and age better. I'm super passionate about aging because I started out working in geriatrics. I worked in a nursing home for 3.5 years. And, I always tell people when you start out at end of life, you know exactly what you don't want. And sometimes that's just as important as knowing what you do want.
There's an awful lot of sense in what you've just said about you. You have to know what almost all the different options are, all the different ways in which our life can come to an end,
Hmm.
and then realize, okay, what is it that I am prepared to accept for myself?
Yes,
We don't really have any sort of control over it. All we can do, I suppose, is do everything that we can to avoid what we don't want.
correct. It's we can be proactive about taking care of ourselves and exercising and prioritizing sleep and sunlight, and there's so many things that impact our health in such a big way that we do have control over. And I think that's really the powerful thing to focus on.
Yes, somebody said to me in another episode that the problems that we have in terms of chronic illnesses are really diseases of decisions that we have made.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I believe that so wholeheartedly. Here in the States, it's very like, oh, that's not my fault. The most chronic and common diseases we're dealing with are things like type 2 diabetes, which we control. That's a lever we move forward or backwards, right?
Yes.
You have to take accountability for your health first and foremost before you can do anything.
You say that as if you're meeting people who either don't or don't want to take responsibility for their health.
Occasionally, I would say the people we see here in our space, they're typically people that do take responsibility and control. But, occasionally I'll have someone come in, say someone that's type 2 diabetic and they don't really want to take responsibility. They say things like, I have poor family genetics. Everybody in my family has diabetes. To which I respond, habits run in families, eating habits, not exercising. Everyone has genetic snips that they maybe wish they didn't have. But those genetic snips can be turned on and off through lifestyle. And so those are choices we get to make every day about how we treat our body. Those choices add up to how we feel, how capability we have to handle things in our life, how we age, emotionally, mentally, how we feel. There are a lot of controllables there, probably more than some people would like to admit. I feel like we have a ton of control over our health if we take the initiative.
I suppose when we talk about the diseases of decisions,
Yeah.
And then you talk about the control over your life. Perhaps too many of us are too susceptible to advertising, to convenience, and well, everybody else is doing it, so I better do it as well.
Sure.
Rather than making the decision that is right for our body shape, the genetics that we know about,
Hmm.
that type of abandonment, I suppose, or disregard for the information that we have at our disposal because it's easier to do something else.
Yeah, I agree.
We all need to be more responsible for our own health and think about the consequences of the decisions that we make. One of the things that arises as a result of our not wanting to take responsibility is that if we don't take responsibility for it, we end up giving responsibility to someone else, and that is usually very expensive.
Yeah, and I think it leaves people ultimately feeling powerless, which is not a good way to feel over your own health.
That is so very true. If there's a risk, you need to know the risks. You need to know what it is that you can do
Hmm.
in order to reduce the risk or remove the risk. If you
Absolutely.
can't reduce it or remove it, how are you going to manage it?
Absolutely.
It's really fascinating. What is a peptide bioregulator?
These are fun. Peptide bioregulators were discovered by Dr. Kavinson in Russia. He clinically studied them for over 40 years at the St. Petersburg Center for Gerontology and Peptide Bioregulators. And it's so cool because here in the U.S. we don't do a lot of there's not a lot of money in studying supplements, but some other countries have that. And when I came across this research, I was so excited because these bioregulators, I like to think of them like as an epigenetic switch. They're capable of crossing over the cellular and nuclear membranes, which means they can bind to the DNA and upregulate the production of certain proteins. Dr. Cavinson describes them, the long term use of these, as retreading our tires. And I think that's a really kind of cool, beautiful description of what they do. They help repair our repair systems. They are very tiny little strings of amino acids, right? So we have proteins, which are long strings of amino acids. We have peptides that a lot of people are familiar with, things like BPC 157, CJC, epimurelin, all those beautiful things. Those are shorter chains, but these are extremely short chains. So either two, three, or four amino acids that are strung together. And so that's how they're able to cross that nuclear and cellular membrane and attach right to the DNA. They're science backed longevity boosters. They're natural, they're safe, there's targeted organ regeneration. We've got clinical proof that you can get results in months with them. And they help us age without declining, which is really kind of the magic of what they do. I think when so many people think about aging, they kind of think about this slow decline into just this decrepitness. And I don't believe that's what we're meant for. I believe our bodies are so capable of healing and repairing. And I believe these are a beautiful tool to help us do that.
When you say they're natural
Yeah.
and they've been studied in we've reached an understanding of what they do,
Mhm.
is it something that our body generates for themselves? And what you're talking about is supplementing what the body already generates.
So yes, to some amino acids are generated in our body. Some are not. Some we need.
Hmm.
We need to take them in, and these are all different amino acids. But again, just a couple of them strung together, and the body has this innate intelligence. You take these, and the body knows where they need to go. They know, oh, those three aminos strung together work on the kidneys, or these two work on the brain. Our bodies just have an incredible innate intelligence.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Hmm.
I just need to try and understand it a little bit in terms of, yeah, this is what the body does with it. The body knows what it needs it for.
Sure.
Do we know why the body knows?
That's a question like anything we take, right? How does the body know what to do with it?
Yes,
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's how we were made by our creator.
this is true. What I think you mean then is that when we add or when we take something in for a particular purpose, because of the research behind it,
Mhm,
we know from what has happened with other people that the desired impact
mhm.
will happen. And when you talk about clinical research, a lot of work has been done into identifying which of the peptide bioregulators will work best with different phases of the aging process.
Correct. So there's, 23, 24 different bioregulators that are specific to systems of the body, right? The kidneys, the pancreas, the brain, the pituitary, the adrenals, the ovaries, the testes. And when you have someone that's experiencing an issue in one of those areas, you can take these bioregulators to support homeostasis in that space.
Right. So does it replace medication, or is it a medication, or
It's not a medication. It's literally just amino acids that you would find in foods. These amino acids come from 12-month-old calves, so they're a natural source. No medication. They can be used in conjunction with other supplements or medicines to help
Mhm.
support healing. So I'll give you an example. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, great.
I have a lady I'm working with that had a form of chemotherapy that can commonly just fry the adrenals. So her adrenals were no longer producing cortisol. The endocrinologist had her on a significant amount of hydrocortisone, and she still felt terrible. And so I started using the adrenal bioregulator with her, along with giving her some adrenal cortex. She has seen a significant improvement in her health. We're excited for her next adrenal function test with her endocrinologist because we'll get to see what work has been done over the past 4 months. But, noting this was a person when she came to see me said, "Look, I'm taking as much cortisone as they'll give me, and I get up in the morning, I eat breakfast and shower, and then I have to go lay down. I'm exhausted. And I have to do that multiple times a day. I nap for 2 to 3 hours a day. I never have the energy to do anything. I feel awful."
Yeah.
And she's now got energy. She's no longer napping. She's doing things that she hasn't done since before her cancer treatment. She's starting to thrive instead of just existing. And I think that's such a profound thing because we have so many people just kind of going through their life just existing because they're too sick to really enjoy their life.
I totally agree with you. And I'm sort of thinking those people who are too sick to totally enjoy their life.
Mhm.
The sort of illnesses that people in that sort of situation have are very often illnesses which have developed over a period of time and become their normal life.
Mhm.
So if you ask them, "How are you today?"
Yes.
they'd probably say that they were fine because they haven't got to the point where they can understand their body and what it could do and what it should do and the difference between that
Mhm.
and what they are actually experiencing, because these are conditions of decision, conditions of habit that have just like slowly developed
Yeah.
as that person has been making the wrong decisions repeatedly, taking the wrong food, not getting enough sleep, not getting enough exercise, and but that becomes their normal life. And unfortunately, they can see other people in the same situation, so there can't be anything wrong because
Yeah.
there's all sorts of people who are in exactly the same boat.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree.
One of the things that, building on that, I suppose, that sort of worries me is like, how would people sort of see a sign that they need to be thinking about this type of approach to managing their health? Or is it something that comes out of somebody's finally gone to the doctor and the GP is saying, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but the other thing is that you need to see Kimberley because she's going to add a different aspect to your treatment.
Well, I can tell you most GPs aren't going to recommend aren't going to recommend this time. I mean, I doubt many of them even know about it. I see people that are like, look, I know my GP is not going to talk to me about prevention or wellness. Help me with that. I also see people that have been through standard allopathic care and aren't getting better. The GP says go see the gastroenterologist. The gastroenterologist says go see an internist. And they all are like, yeah, your labs are fine. We don't know what to do with you. And then they're like, what can I do? I need to get better. They're people that are searching, pending, what I would recommend to help them feel better would, be based on what kind of problems they're experiencing. I had a woman come to me that had chronic lymphatic lymphoma and had been hospitalized about 6 months prior and was given a medication that damaged her kidneys and was now also seeing a nephrologist every 6 months to make sure her kidney disease didn't progress. So she's like, look, I want you to help me do anything I can to optimize my health around the cancer, but also, hey, is there anything we can do for my kidneys? And I said, well, I have a few things that we can certainly try, really remarkable studies around them, and let's give it a shot. And this woman was so interesting. I had labs on her prior to starting any supplementation. She had been doing a kidney peptide bioregulator for 15 days when her nephrologist ordered updated labs. And my mind was completely blown because every single one of her kidney markers had improved by multiple points in just those 15 days of taking that bioregulator. She now has normal kidney function. Is everyone going to get the same result? No, we're all individuals. But what if we can improve someone's quality of life by 20% or 30%, 40%? That's significant
Very much.
overall picture. And when you think about kind of the decline as people age, I think when people are really serious about their health and really willing to kind of buckle down and do all the things to support health and truly being well, they can see really significant changes. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's those descriptions that you give there of the adding in the bioregulator. And it's even, the clue's in the word, really, isn't it? That
Yeah.
this is something that will help regulate the function of part of your body, and it's very targeted,
Yes. Very targeted.
and it's there to regulate the performance of that part of the body. You mentioned that the lady who'd unfortunately had cancer
Yes.
and both cancer treatments which damaged her kidneys, so she takes the right type of regulator and she ends up with very good functioning kidneys. Is that a supplement that she would then have to take long term in order to maintain the performance of her kidneys?
I think in most cases, no, people do not. I know of a story that Dr. Bill Lawrence, he's a PH doc here in the US that is currently doing clinical studies on the bioregulators here in the US. He studied with Dr. Cavinson and is currently doing clinical research on them here in the United States. He talks about twin boys that were brought to him with a retinitis pigmentosa diagnosis. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. For people that aren't,
No,
it is a genetic disease with no cure where you go blind.
right.
So essentially, the vision starts to come in until it's like you're looking through a straw. And then eventually the person goes blind. And I think it's generally a fairly quick process as well.
Hmm.
So these teenage boys were brought to him because they had a mutual, if I remember the story correctly, someone mutual that knew him and the family and said, hey, he might be able to help you with these bioregulators. Dr. Cavinson also has imaging and some photos around people with these diseases that they put them on the bioregulator and their sight improved. They never lost their sight. But in those cases, Dr. Cavinson said he has kept those boys on the bioregulator because they're just too much that they don't know. And it seemed like a little risky to take them off in the event that it would progress. So
Yeah.
there's things that are being learned all the time. Thank God for these docs that do clinical research because it's amazing and it helps everyone. but really some pretty significant stories out there about what they've done for people. And while it might be okay, N of one, it still tells you that these bioregulators they're gentle but powerful.
Gentle but powerful. And I suspect, but that's because they're a natural product,
Right.
which our body will consume in other ways or generate in other ways. So what we're actually doing is supplementing what we already have
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
in order to achieve a very specific objective.
Totally.
The big $1 million question then is probably, why don't more people know about this?
My guess would be because lots of reasons. Number one, they have not been a big thing over here in the US as of yet. The US doesn't share clinical data with a lot of other countries, Russia being one of them. And so
Hmm.
it kind of takes someone digging in and being curious, hearing something, and then kind of going after the literature, finding out where
Hmm.
they can dig in. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of reasons, and I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist about that. But
But it does sound from what you're saying as if there are different medical doctors, researchers working on these sorts of things around the world, and they would probably work together very happily.
yes,
But there are things like politics
yes,
get in the way, the financial side of big pharma industries might get in the way as well. And I think that, say, 200 years ago, we didn't have the medical knowledge that we have now. So people were much more willing to accept, what we might call the old wives' tales, the old family cures.
mm-hmm,
That has waned somewhat as we've taken on more drugs and we get more used to taking the drugs, and that becomes the normal thing. We only have to look at what happened with King Charles when he was talking about holistic health and holistic medicines and things, and how people mocked him 20, 30 years ago. And now, of course, we hail him as a forward thinker, an advocate for these things as well. So I'm sure everything has its time, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. It's really about people being open to. I always tell people I'm not against standard medicine, but what I am against is not looking at the person as a whole unit
Yes.
and not optimizing things that are disregarded often by standard medicine, like, oh, what you eat doesn't matter. Really? Because every single cell in your body is made up of what you put in your mouth.
Yes.
And when you can get people to picture that, they're kind of like, oh, shoot, you know?
What did I just have? What did I just eat? What did I just
Yeah.
drink?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
It's either everything's either leading you towards health or leading you towards disease. Again, it's a choice we get to make. But I think these peptides have a real role in helping us age better. I mean, one of the coolest things that I read about in Dr. Cavinson's work was that his long-term observational studies were that when he used these peptide bioregulators and administered them over 2 to 3 years, it led to an increase in life expectancy of 20 to 40% in elderly populations, particularly in retirees and veterans. That's a huge, huge deal.
Yes, but it makes me think that actually, because of these, you're taking something which is improving the performance of organs within your body.
Hmm.
Not only are you living longer, your longevity is increased,
Hmm.
but the quality of the life that you are able to live will also improve as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sometimes you can think like, oh, there are lots of people living to be, over 100 years old. It's great. But what you want to be doing is living a long, healthy, and happy life, not just a long life without the healthy or the happy.
And that's what I learned from working in geriatrics.
Hmm.
Who cares how long you live if your quality of life sucks? You know, we're great at keeping people alive for a long time here in the US, but with a super poor quality of life. Nobody wants that. I've seen it firsthand and it's so ugly.
Yes.
I'm not interested. I always tell people I'm not interested in someone spoon feeding me. I'm not interested in someone changing my
Hmm.
diaper. No thanks. Like, I want to be independent and upright and active while I'm here. And I know I have to take responsibility for that. It means building as much lean muscle as I can to protect my bones, to protect my brain, to keep me stable and mobile, balanced. There's just so many ways that we do have the power to control our health if we choose to.
And this is just one of them.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting topic. I knew nothing really before we started this conversation. I know a little bit more, quite a lot more actually, but I'm sure there's an awful lot more to learn. Where can people go to find out more information? What's your website address again?
Sure. It's Avita, and that's AVITA dash wellness.com. I have a page there that talks about a longevity protocol I do based on Dr. Cavinson's work. It's a 12-month protocol and answers some questions. People can, book in for a discovery call with me if they have questions. But it's a really fun thing to work with people on because I've seen some incredible results with it.
It all sounds great. Kimberley, thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time today. It's been extremely interesting and you've certainly made me think. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. I am Michael Millward, the Managing Director of Abeceder, and in this episode of Fit for My Age, I have been having a conversation with Kimberley Verbeke from avita-wellness.com. You can find out more about both of us at abeceder.co.uk. I must remember to thank the team at matchmaker.fm for introducing me to Kimberley. If you are a podcaster looking for interesting guests, or if, like Kimberley, you have something interesting to say, Matchmaker.fm is where great hosts and great guests are matched, and even greater podcasts are hatched. There is a link to Matchmaker.fm and an offer code in the description. At Fit for My Age, our aim is proactive, positive aging. As we discussed with Kimberley, knowing the risks early is an important part of maintaining good health. That is why we recommend the annual health test from York Test. York Test provide an assessment of 39 different health markers, including cholesterol, diabetes, various vitamins, liver function, iron deficiencies, inflammation, and a full blood count. The annual health test is conducted by an experienced phlebotomist who will complete a full blood draw at your home or workplace. Hospital standard tests are carried out in a UKAS accredited and CQC compliant laboratory. You can access your easy to understand results and guidance to help you make effective lifestyle changes anytime via your secure personal wellness hub. There is a link and a discount code in the description, which means that description is well worth reading. I am sure that you will have enjoyed listening to this episode of Fit for My Age as much as Kimberley and I have enjoyed making it, so please give it a like and download it. To make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, please subscribe. Remember, the aim of all the podcasts produced by Abeceder is not to tell you what to think, but we do hope to have made you think. Until the next episode of Fit for My Age, thank you for listening and goodbye.